Hello everyone, I am Dr. K.C. Sajjan, Associate Professor, Department of Physics, Vireshwar College, Bellary. Welcome to online class. Today's topic is magnetic properties of solids. BSc 6M, paper 6.1. Syllabus for this topic is define magnetic moment, magnetism, diamagnetism, Langevins classical theory, paramagnetism, Curie's law, paramagnetism, hysteresis law, Swiss theory. Magnetic materials are those which can be easily magnetized as they have permanent magnetic moment or induced magnetic moment in the presence of applied magnetic field. Magnetism arises from the magnetic dipole moments or simply magnetic moment of the magnetic materials. The following are some of the important terms that are used in the study of magnetic materials. So like magnetic dipole, it is a system consisting of two equal and opposite magnetic poles separated by a small distance. 2L is as shown in the figure here. This is North Pole, here is South Pole here, and total distance is taken as 2L. L is the distance from pole to the center of the magnet, and M is the pole strength of each. The SI unit of pole strength is ampere meter. The second term is magnetic moment, a physical quantity. It is defined as the product of its pole strength and distance between the two poles, that is M is equal to M into 2L. SI unit of M is ampere meter square. It is also given by the product of current and area. I is the current to the loop of area A. The third physical quantities, magnetic induction or magnetic flux density. The number of magnetic lines of induction inside a magnetized substance crossing unit area normal to their direction is known as magnetic induction or magnetic flux density. SI unit of B is Weber per meter square or Tesla. The fourth one is intensity of magnetization denoted by I. It is defined as the ratio of magnetic dipole moment developed per unit volume when a sample of magnetic substance is subjected to a magnetizing field, that is I is equal to M upon V, or even we can write I is equal to pole strength per unit area M by A, but SI unit of I is ampere per meter. The fifth one, magnetic permeability, mu. Magnetic permeability of a substance is defined as the ratio of magnetic induction to the magnetizing field, thus mu is equal to V by H. Magnetic permeability is the ability of a material to allow the magnetic lines of forces through it. Further, mu is equal to mu naught into mu r, where mu naught is 4 pi in 10 to the power minus 7 Henry per meter. It is the permeability of free space. Mu r is the relative permeability, mu is the absolute permeability. The sixth one, magnetic susceptibility denoted by chi. It is defined as the ratio of intensity of magnetization to magnetizing field, that is chi is equal to I by H. Chi has no unit because unit of I and H are same, ampere per meter, it cancels, so chi has no unit. It is just a number. Chi is also called volume susceptibility. The relation between mu r and chi is mu r is equal to 1 plus chi. Now come to the classification of magnetic materials. Here the magnetic materials have been classified into dia, para and ferromagnetic substances. Basically, magnetic substances are those which are attracted by a magnet. They can be classified as dia, para and ferromagnetic substances. Ferromagnetic substances are strongly attracted by a magnet, while paramagnetic substances are weakly attracted by a magnet. But diamagnetic substances are repelled by a magnet. The behavior of magnetic substances can be explained on the basis of electron theory. The matter is made up of atoms. Each atom has a positively charged nucleus at its center, and around the nucleus negatively charged electrons revolve in various orbits. The revolving electron behaves like a magnetic dipole which has some magnetic moment. This magnetic moment arises due to orbital motion and spin motion. The contribution to the magnetic moment due to orbital revolution is negligibly small. Hence, most of the magnetic moment is produced due to the electron spin. the magnetic moment vectors are oriented in different directions in an atom. In diamagnetic substances, the vector sum of magnetic moments is zero. The property of diamagnetic magnetism is generally found in those substances whose atoms or molecules have even number of electrons which form pairs. In the electron pairs, the directional spin of one electron is opposite to that of the other. In this way, the magnetic moment of one of electron is neutralized by that of the other, and the net magnetic moment is zero. In paramagnetic substances, the vector sum of magnetic moment is not zero. So, the atoms or molecules of a paramagnetic substance possesses a permanent magnetic moment. The property of paramagnetism is found in the substances whose atoms or molecules have single electrons and their orbitals oriented in a random way, such that the permanent magnetic moment is greater than zero. In paramagnetic materials, all the orbits of single electrons are oriented in a symmetric manner such that the atom as a whole possesses a large magnetic moment. Langevins theory of paramagnetism. Consider an electron of mass m rotating about the nucleus and nuclear charge is Ze in circular orbit of radius r. Here this is the circular orbit of radius r. Ze is the charge of the nucleus. Electron is revolving around the nucleus. Omega naught be the angular velocity of the electron. The force acting on the electron is given by, this is the centripetal force. Fo is equal to m omega naught square r. That's equal to, this is a force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron, Coulombian force, Z square divided by 4 pi epsilon r square. From this we can have omega naught square r is equal to Z square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught mrq. Or from this we can write omega naught is equal to root of Z square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught mrq, equation number 1. The magnetic moment associated with an electron orbit is given by m is equal to product of current and area of the loop. That current expression, because from here I is equal to q by t, q means here charge of the electron, t equal to 2 pi by omega naught we know, and by this it has been substituted here, and pi r square, this happens to be e omega naught r square by 2. Let a magnetic field B is applied perpendicular to the orbit and into the phase here. The field is applied perpendicular to this and also into the phase. Due to this, an additional force Fl called Lorentz force acts on the electron, given by Fl is equal to minus E into bracket V into V cross B, that's equal to minus E B r omega, equation number 2. The condition for stable equilibrium is given by this m omega square r Z square divided by 4 pi epsilon r square minus this Lorentz force will be subtracted, because from equation 1 just you have to subtract this one here, Lorentz force, and this all happens to be here, and divided by mr on both sides. What you get here, omega naught square is equal to omega square is equal to omega naught square minus e b omega by m. From this omega square, you bring this term on this side, e b omega by m minus omega naught square is equal to 0, equation number 3. Solving the quadratic equation, because you have the type ax square plus bx plus c, so that you can write here omega is equal to minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. So after simplification, it happens to be like this equation number 4. Neglecting e by m compared to omega naught square, so we get here just as usual, and this term will be neglected here. So omega is equal to plus or minus omega naught minus ab by 2m, equation number 5. Thus the angular frequency of the electron in its orbit changes with the application of an external magnetic field. Therefore the result of establishing a field of flux density B is to set up a precessional motion of the electron orbit with an angular velocity, this term, with an angular velocity EB divided by 2m. This is known as Larmor theorem. Thus, the change in frequency of revolution of the electron is given by change in frequency. In terms of frequency, it is minus 2 EB divided by 2m divided by 2 pi. This happens to be minus AB divided by 4 pi m, equation number 6. The corresponding change in magnetic moment of the electron is given by delta M is equal to current into area. Current means again charge divided by time. Time means frequency. Charge into frequency is nothing but current here. Area as usual. By substituting this, finally we are going to get minus B E square R square by 4m, equation number 7. On summing over all the electrons in the atom, the induced moment per atom becomes delta M of all atom is equal to minus B E square sigma R square divided by 4m. If there are n atoms per unit volume, then the magnetization M is given by M is equal to n times of this delta M of atom. So minus n B E square sigma R square divided by 4m, equation number 8. All the electrons orbits are not oriented normal to the field. Hence, R square in equation should be replaced by the average of the square of the projection of the orbit radii for various electrons in a plane perpendicular to B. Hence, sigma R square should be replaced by 2 by 3 of R square into Z. Therefore, equation 8 is going to become this. Where mu is the permeability material, the volume susceptibility of the material is given by chi is equal to m upon h, that's equal to minus n z mu h e square into r square divided by 6mh. After simplification, minus mu e square divided by 6m n z of r square, equation number 10. Equation 10 shows that magnetic susceptibility is independent of both field strength and temperature. This is in good agreement with Curie's experimental results, because chi is negative and it is not having any temperature term and frequency term. Chi is negative and chi is independent of temperature and frequency. This is the characteristic of a diamagnetic material. Langevin theory of paramagnetism. Langevin assumed that each atom has a permanent magnetic momentum. The only force acting on the atom is that due to the external magnetic field B, then magnetic potential energy of the atomic dipole is given by U is equal to minus mb cos theta. According to classical statistics, the number of atoms having potential energy U is given by n is equal to k into exponential minus u by kt, that's equal to k into e to the power of mb cos theta by kt. The number of atoms having potential energy between u and u plus du inclined at an angle between theta and theta plus d theta is given by dn is equal to k into e to the power of m b cos theta by kt into du, differentiation of u, that's minus mb by kt sin theta d theta, minus c exponential mb cos theta by kt into sin theta d theta, where k is Boltzmann constant and T is the absolute temperature. Putting mb by kt is equal to alpha, we get dn is equal to minus c e to the power of alpha cos theta sin theta d theta, equation number 1. The total number of atomic magnets in unit volume of the paramagnetic material is given by n is equal to integration 0 to pi dn, that's equal to 0 to pi dn value from the equation number 1, c e to the power of alpha cos theta minus sin theta d theta, that's equation number 2. Put cos theta is equal to x, then dx equal to minus sin theta d theta. By substituting the value and changing the limits from 0 to pi to plus 1 to minus 1, and after simplification we get c is equal to minus n alpha divided by e to the power of alpha minus e to the power of minus alpha, equation number 3. The component of each dipole moment parallel to B is m cos theta. The total magnetic moment of all the n atoms contained in unit volume of the gas is the magnetization m. It is given by m is equal to integration 0 to pi m cos theta dn, that's equal to 0 to pi m cos theta c e to the power of alpha cos theta minus sin theta d theta, equation number 4. Put cos theta is equal to x, then differentiation of this minus sin theta d theta is equal to dx. With this we can write equation 4 as follows. M is equal to integration by changing the limits here, plus 1 to minus 1 m c e to the power of alpha x dx equal to cm plus 1 to minus 1 x e to the power of alpha x dx. Evaluating this integral and substituting the value of c from equation 3, we get m is equal to integration of plus 1 to minus 1 m, here e to the power of minus n alpha e to the power of x minus e to the power of minus x e to the power of alpha x dx, that's equal to alpha mn divided by e to the power of x minus e to the power of minus x integration of minus 1 to plus 1 x e to the power of alpha x dx, where L of alpha is equal to cot h alpha minus 1 by alpha is called Langevins function, in which we shall discuss about two different cases here. First one, case 1, at low temperature or large magnetic field, L alpha tends to 1, hence M is equal to Mn, so the saturation is reached and all the atomic dipoles are parallel to the field. In case 2, under normal condition alpha is very small, then L of alpha is equal to cot h alpha minus 1 by alpha mb divided by 3 kt, therefore M is equal to Mn mb by 3 kt or Mn square plus b divided by 3 kt and Nmn square mu naught h divided by 3 kt. Thus the magnetic susceptibility is given by chi is equal to m by h, that's mu naught n m square by 3 kt, that all constant c is all taken as c by t, equation number 6, where c is mu naught n m square by 3k is called Curie's constant. Now we shall see the failure of Langevins theory. The first one is Langevins theory fails to explain more complicated dependence of susceptibility on temperature exhibited by several paramagnetic substances such as highly compressed and cooled gases, very concentrated solutions of salts. Second one, Langevins theory could not account for the intimate relation between para and paramagnetism. Now we shall go first. Which modification of Langevins theory? Langevins theory applies strictly to gases where the molecules are sufficiently far apart so that the mutual interaction between the molecules are negligible. In liquids and solids, interaction between molecules is large, resulting in a deviation from Curie's law, which modified the theory and derived a modified equation for susceptibility of paramagnetic materials in the following form: chi is equal to c divided by t minus theta, equation number 7. In equation 7, theta is known as Curie temperature and is a characteristic of the substance. Equation 7 holds only at temperature T greater than theta, because here if T is greater than theta, then only this numerator is going to be positive, chi is going to be positive. At T is equal to theta, the transition from paramagnetic to ferromagnetic materials takes place. At T is less than theta, substance behaves like a paramagnetic substance, and at T is greater than theta, the material becomes paramagnetic substance. Now we shall see a little detail about the paramagnetism. Paramagnetic substances are strongly magnetic. A paramagnetic material has spontaneous magnetic moment even in zero applied field. The atoms or molecules of a paramagnetic materials have a net intrinsic magnetic dipole moment, which is primarily due to the spin of the electrons. The interaction between the neighboring atomic dipoles is very strong. It is called spin exchange interaction and is present even in the absence of an external magnetic field. Which theory of paramagnetism? Which made the following hypothesis for magnetism. A specimen of paramagnetic material contains a number of small regions called domains which are spontaneously magnetized. The magnitude of spontaneous magnetization of this specimen as a whole is determined by the vector sum of the magnetic moments of the individual domains. The second one, the spontaneous magnetization of each domain is due to the presence of an external exchange of field, due to an exchange field Be, which tends to produce a parallel alignment of the atomic dipoles. B is proportional to the magnetization I of each domain. Therefore, we can write B is equal to beta into I, equation number 1, where beta is a constant called the Vis field constant and is independent of temperature. B is also called Vis field. The effective magnetic field on an atom or ion becomes B effective is equal to B plus B, or B plus B means here from equation 1, B is equal to beta I, so B plus beta I, question number 2. Using classical theory and with the above hypothesis, we obtain the following expression, that T is equal to sigma naught square rho divided by 3 Rm. Sigma naught is the saturation value of gram molecular moment. Rho is the density of the substance, m is the molecular weight, rho is the His field constant, T is the absolute temperature of the substance. Now, one of the important property exhibited by ferromagnetic substance is hysteresis. Now we shall see about this graph here. In this graph, the intensity of magnetization versus magnetizing field is plotted here. The phenomenon in which what you find is when a ferromagnetic substance is subjected to magnetization, so as the magnetic field is applied here, so intensity of magnetization goes on increases like this here. It reaches to a maximum value and then gets saturated. For a particular field that is called a H maximum. In this, when the magnetic field from H maximum is decreased slowly, so the path traced by this curve is not going to follow the previous path, but instead it is going to follow the path AB. Even when H is equal to 0, but still I is left over here, this amount of intensity of magnetization left over even after making H is equal to 0 is called residual magnetism. So if you reverse the magnet and apply in the reverse direction slowly, and again this intensity of magnetization decreases and comes to 0 for a particular field. That reverse field for which intensity of magnetization is going to become 0 is called coercive field. That kind of property exhibited by the ferromagnetic substance is called coercivity. And further, if you increase the field to H maximum, again it gets saturated in negative direction. So when a ferromagnetic substance is completely subjected for one cycle of magnetization, we are going to get a loop like this here. This loop is called hysteresis loop, and the curve OA is called hysteresis curve, and in which we find I is lagging behind H. The phenomenon of lagging of intensity of magnetization I behind the magnetizing field H when a ferromagnetic substance is subjected to a magnetizing field is called hysteresis. A graph obtained by plotting I against H is called hysteresis curve. Say hysteresis curve. In this, that's what I explained. Consider an unmagnetized iron bar. Let it be subjected to a gradually increasing field H. Initially, when I is equal to 0, H is equal to 0. As H gradually increases, I also increases and reaches to saturated value at maximum field HM as shown in the figure. In the figure, OA is called initial magnetization curve. As the value of H decreases from H maximum to 0, the specimen does not pass through its previous path, but I decreases at a lower rate and they follow the path AB. When H is reduced to 0, but still I has certain value equal to OB, this magnetism left behind in the specimen when the magnetism field is reduced to 0 is called residual magnetism. This property is called retentivity. Retentivity is the ability of a ferromagnetic substance to retain intensity of magnetization when the field is 0. When a magnetic field is applied in the reverse direction, I decreases and becomes 0 at a particular value of H. The corresponding value of H at which I becomes 0 is called coercive field. The reverse magnetizing field applied to ferromagnetic substance for which I becomes 0 is called coercive field. This property is called coercivity. When a ferromagnetic substance is subjected to a cycle of magnetization, a loop is obtained as shown in the figure. This loop is called hysteresis loop. The area under hysteresis loop is a measure of the amount of energy lost by the specimen per unit volume per cycle of magnetization. A soft ferromagnetic material has a narrow hysteresis loop and the energy loss is minimum. Such soft magnetic materials are useful for the course of transformers, motors, etc. Now we shall distinguish by three types of materials: dia, para and ferromagnetic substances. Some of the properties based on that these three materials have been distinguished. We shall see one by one. So this is meant for diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material, ferromagnetic material. The first one, in which a diamagnetic rod is suspended in a uniform magnetic field, sets its longest axis perpendicular to the field. Now see, in this uniform magnetic field, when a diamagnetic substance in the form of rod is kept here, so it is perpendicular to the field direction. It stands perpendicular to the direction of the field. But whereas in case of ferromagnetic material, a paramagnetic rod suspended in uniform magnetic field sets its longest axis parallel to the field. Now you see, so it is a uniform field in which a paramagnetic rod is suspended here, and now it is setting parallel to the direction of the field. But here also in case of ferromagnetic substance, same thing but to a greater extent. The second property, in non-uniform magnetic field, these materials move from stronger to weaker region. That means if in a non-uniform magnetic field, if a diamagnetic substance is kept, that is having tendency to move from stronger to weaker material, they are having a property of repulsion. But whereas in case of paramagnetic substances, here when a ferromagnetic material is kept in non-uniform magnetic field, it is having tendency to move from weaker to stronger field, means that having a property of attraction. Here same property will be exhibited by ferromagnetic substance but to a greater extent. Come to the third one. A diamagnetic liquid in a U-shaped tube subjected to a magnetic field is depressed in the tube. Now see, there's a U tube here. So without applying any field, the levels are same. But when the one of the limbs of U tube is subjected to magnetic field, now this level is depressed here. That happens in case of diamagnetic substance. But in case of paramagnetic substance, so we find elevation. So when one of the limbs of the U tube is subjected to magnetic field of a paramagnetic substance, it is elevated here. Same thing happens in case of ferromagnetic substances. So here is they increases to a greater extent here. Is a ferromagnetic here, is a ferromagnetic liquid. Fourth one, these materials do not permit the magnetic lines of induction to pass through them. These materials permit the magnetic lines of induction to pass through them. Here also same thing but to a greater extent. The fifth one, mu r relative permeability is less than 1 and chi is negative in case of diamagnetic substance, but whereas in case of paramagnetic substance, chi relative permeability is greater than 1 and chi is positive. Here also same thing in case of paramagnetic substance but to a greater extent. Sixth one, substances loses its magnetization as soon as the magnetizing field is removed, but whereas in case of this paramagnetic substance also happens the same thing, but in case of ferromagnetic substances retains its magnetization as soon as the magnetizing field is removed. Come to the seventh one. Some examples for diamagnetic substances are bismuth, antimony, copper, gold, quartz, mercury, water, alcohol, air, hydrogen, etc. The examples for paramagnetic substances are aluminium, platinum, chromium, manganese, copper sulfate, oxygen, etc. Examples for ferromagnetic substances are iron, cobalt, nickel, and number of alloys. The last one, eighth one, diamagnetic susceptibility is negative and independent of field and temperature. But whereas in case of paramagnetic substances, paramagnetic susceptibility is positive and depending on temperature and also field. Now, ferromagnetic material is chi is given by chi is equal to C by T. It's called as a Curie's law. But in case of ferromagnetic substances, ferromagnetic susceptibility is positive and depends on the temperature. Above Curie temperature, it is transforms into paramagnetic material and is given by I is equal to C divided by T minus theta. It is a Curie-Weiss law. Thank you.